Welcome everybody, so excited to see you all today. Is this our first, it's not our first meetup of the year, but it's the first meetup in Alpharetta, right Martin? It's like our second
no,
meetup? Second one? Okay. All of y'all are keeping track, thank you. But welcome, I keep saying that this year just feels like, it feels like it's like just starting, but it's also, you know, the middle of March now, guys. So what are we even doing with our lives? AI, I guess. So welcome to the Modern Web Meetup. Who is new? Anybody not been here before? Okay, we have like a few hands. That's quite a few. So welcome. We do this event up here, OTP, and we also do it ITP as well. So every few months we sort of rotate. So we do this one quarterly in at Improving offices. So thank you so much, Improving, for sponsoring. And then we also do it in town at
Tech Square.
At Tech Square ATL. So this event is sort of a collaboration between Modern Web, Refactor, React, ATL.JS, Vue ATL, and yeah, again, we're excited for you all to be here. So Modern Web, it's it started off as a podcast. It's also been a meetup. Gosh, it's been like 10 years since we've been doing Modern Web. We've done it in Raleigh, we've done it in the Silicon Valley, and now we do it here in Atlanta. We have an AI workshop that Elliot loves to be in the spotlight, right, Elliot? Raise your hand. Here's your face. Anyways, if you go to ai.this.co/workshops, you can check them out. We do them monthly. We really believe in sort of just like evangelizing AI. So if you really sort of want to get, even if you're a beginner, it's great. If you are advanced or feel like you're more advanced and you want to sort of get even deeper, it's a really great place to be as well. How many have been to the workshop? Anybody? 1, 2, few. Okay, well, you guys should come hang out with us. ATL.JS is awesome, started by Randall and a few other folks. Cecilia is also the co-organizer of that. She couldn't be here tonight, but again, we sort of all do it together. Martin hosts ReactATL, so thank you, Martin, for doing that. And then I don't think Alex is here.
No.
Yeah, so yeah, I didn't see his hair. So Alex, if you ever see a guy with like colored hair, that's Alex, and he runs VueJS ATL as well. ReFactor.TECH, I don't see the ladies here, but the ladies of ReFactor.TECH are awesome. We're always hosting cool things. It's just such a great vibe, such a great community. And they have an event. So GitHub Copilot Dev Days, hands-on AI coding workshop. So again, we're all about sort of helping people be more successful when it comes to AI stuff. This is a free event, and it's at Microsoft Atlantic Station. So definitely check it out. Wednesday, April 22nd. It's in about a month, so mark your calendars. Does anybody still need to take pictures of that? I don't see the phones away yet, so I'll wait a second. All right. Well, if you didn't get it, ask me later. We have a LinkedIn group and a Discord as well, so definitely join it. Community is everything, and I feel like you all don't talk that much on the internet, so feel free to join and actually talk. Feel free, because community is what you make of it. So if you're trying to find a job, you're trying to do something, you're trying to meet people, whatever, you're trying to find something out, it's a great place to be. We have sponsors, so Cecilia works at FanDuel. FanDuel is like always hiring, so definitely check them out if you're looking for a job. Improving as well. Where did our host go? Not here. I feel like Improving is always hiring as well. I'll save the Improving thing for later. Render ATL sponsors a bunch of food and different things like that. Who's been to Render before? Yeah, a few people. Not a lot of people. Not a lot of people have been here. But yeah, you love it? I love it. It's a vibe. It's such a vibe, and there's swag. So definitely check it out. It's happening in August this year. Render ATL, and it's part of ATL Tech Week as well. Actually, Render runs ATL Tech Week, so if you know ATL Tech Week, then Render's the parent company of that. This is my company, so it's a software consultancy. Again, we're doing a lot of AI enablement, helping teams with AI transformation, so a lot of sort of like just getting engineering teams up to speed and teaching that. Then we also do software development as well. So always happy to talk about that type of stuff. Oh, Improving! Thank you for digging me the pizza. Round of applause for improving and sponsoring today. I've told this story before, but for those of you who are new, like I would have never, 2020, right? Like after 2020, when are the meetups going to start back again? Well, we lost all our venues. And so I was having lunch with Jay Bailey, who's I think he's the president here, right, at Improving. And he was like, oh, we have space and we'll sponsor pizza. And like, when somebody says we have space, we'll sponsor pizza, like, okay, I guess we'll come. And so, for the past 2-3 years or something like that, we've been hosting events here. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about
Improving is a software consulting firm. We deal in modern web and AI and data analytics. So if you guys need any help with that, we can help you out.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you for sponsoring the pizza and space.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Okay, well, we're going to have two amazing talks today by Harald and Jeff, who are both from out of town. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming from out of town. And we'll have Jeopardy, of course, but first we're going to do a fireside chat with, led by Rob. So I want to go ahead and invite the guys up. And feel free to badger them, feel free to,
All right, so I'm Rob Osell, the VP of Innovation at This.Labs. This is a group of our team from This.Labs. We got Daniel Markland, one of our engineering leads. We got Jonathan Fontenez, one of our engineering leads, and then we got our CTO down there, Elliot, who I think some of you know from before. And as Tracy was saying at the beginning, what we've been doing for the last year now is working with different companies, different sizes, enterprise down to small companies, helping teams go from individuals who are experimenting with AI and like teams that maybe have like experiments going on, to helping them really just have a cohesive strategy and seeing a lot of success with AI. So we're going to talk about some of those topics. That being said, I thought I would open this up potentially to, if you have questions on this vein, topics burning on your mind that you want us to answer, I'll happily take a couple. But I'm going to start with an intro one so you guys can think about that, if there's something that really pressing that you want us to cover. But just as a brief way to introduce yourselves, what is the most interesting, or like, what's got your imagination going around as far as tools that you're using or playing with?
I'm actually pretty excited right now about Kirschner 2. A year ago I didn't really see the light, but as of Kirschner 2, I'm actually starting to play around with a lot more automations and so on and so forth.
So I've been kind of digging a little bit deeper into Claude Code, specifically different features like the agent teams, auto memory, kind of looking at some of the use cases around that, and just basic context engineering, expanding on that.
A little bit of a non-answer, I guess, but I think getting outside of the tools and leveraging a lot of CLIs to build kind of your own harnesses, going from like orchestrating sub-agents and things through the tools to moving one step out and doing that in CLI, kind of building your own lightweight harnesses and things to try to build more like workflows for modernizations or just different tasks, maybe more like light bots and things like that.
Who here is using AI for things other than like coding? Are people using it for like pictures, videos? Anybody doing video stuff? Who thinks that's the craziest thing? Anybody? Games? Are people playing games? Things like that? Okay, cool. Yeah, my answer for the inspiring one or the interesting one is like me and my brother were going. I'm revealing myself as quite a nerd here, but World of Warcraft just released a new expansion. And in preparation for it, it was me and my brother. He was using Nano Banana, and I was using ChatGPT, and we were just making all these amazing meme templates with different characters from our guild doing different memes and things like that, leading for the hours up until the launch of the thing. Nerd. I've been called worse by better. All right. Were there any questions that immediately sprang to people's mind that they want us to cover? Otherwise, we'll dive in. Was there anything on anybody's? Yeah.
When any of you find something, a new workflow that's working for you,
Yeah.
how do you scale it out to other people? Like, how do you like
Great question.
communicate the value as well as like the complexity or lack of complexity, so that like what scaled awesome for you is now scaling for more than you.
Sure, and let me just repeat it so everybody can hear it in case some people couldn't. So the question was, is like, once you have a workflow that works for you or works for your team, something that you think works, like how are you scaling that out? How are you sharing that with other people? How do you show them that it's working and help it work for other people? So who wants to start that?
Yeah, sure.
I think it's a problem a lot of people, a lot of orgs are trying to figure out right now. You see like marketplaces for skills popping up as like a mechanism for distributing things, or like plugins being in all the agents now as like another distribution mechanism. But I think like I consistently find that what works for somebody else doesn't always work for the next person perfectly. And so like something I appreciate is a lot of those are open source, and it's mostly all markdown and prompting and things like that. So I think the biggest thing is like being not necessarily a consumer of what worked well, but like a student of what worked well for someone else. I think it seems to be very like individual or team to team intimate exercise of what's working. I think like even when you get into like this microservice over here and documentation of it, each consumer has a different perspective, the thing they care about with it. And so like if you just suck in all the docs of something, I only really cared about this one slice, and I only have this much memory to deal with. So I think the way you share it is maybe through some of those mechanisms, but really I think just sharing out what worked, and people have to be students of each other on it for now.
I've been kind of taking a quantitative approach of measuring how well it works over several tasks. One of the use cases that I use AI for is working on a Rust project, and I know that historically I've had issues with workflows that work well once, and they don't consistently work well. So generally I'm setting these aside in particular folders, and I'm just measuring it over a spreadsheet, honestly, at this point, and I will keep on using it over and over. And if it's worth sharing, I've got my cool little folder that I can communicate up and see what other people think.
Yeah, it's to echo what Elliot and Jonathan said, it's a process. It's just refining communication and really, really honing your markdown files.
Okay, we'll do one more from my list, or you can hold on to that for a second. So I feel like there's been a dialogue that's gone back and forth. You go back far enough, everything was about prompt engineering, right? When people were saying I wasn't getting good results, you say, oh, you're just not asking it the right way. And then I feel like we went through a phase where people said prompts don't matter at all, prompt engineering is dead, it's all context engineering. Well, as with anything, right, the answer's probably it depends and somewhere more in the middle. So, like, where are you guys on this, and with the teams that you've been working on, like, what does this mean? Is this kind of a false dichotomy? Like, where you find the balance between prompt engineering and context engineering when you're helping a team start to get better results out of their AI systems?
Yeah, so I kind of see prompt engineering as a component of a larger context engineering. One of the things that has been valuable for me is kind of thinking of context engineering as the domain of the problem, and then prompt engineering being kind of the specifics for a particular task. That given, I have kind of deviated away from the traditional prompting where you say like as a particular role. Looking at current research, a lot of the models are good enough where you don't need to have that level of specialization. So I spend more time refining what I want to get out of my task. And then with regard to context, just making sure that I have all the assets. That can be a markdown, that can be as simple as images, whatever. Just making sure that the agent has visibility into all of that.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like some of the like very niche tactics of prompts and things like that are gone. But like some of the larger kind of like workflow style tactics still exist, of like having another step that reviews the previous step is still like very powerful for reducing hallucinations and things like that. Or like combinations of asking a few different instances of the same model or a few different instances of different models, and then collaborating on the answer. The collection of answers are still like really powerful tactics. So like, but that kind of aspect of prompt engineering still exists pretty strongly. But we have so many more features in almost every popular agent now. And so it's so much more than what we're just typing in a prompt or what our initial prompt is. We have ways to auto-load information, dynamically load information based on different parts of the file system. And so it's a much more complex system of what goes to the model now than just what you put in that prompt. So, and then the whole other topic is how you give it access to information, not just what you have in like your repo or in your prompts, but performing all the integrations and things necessary in organization to have the information that's necessary available is a whole big thing too, I think.
Yeah, I think that the tools are starting to really evolve. And, like I said earlier, that's why I'm excited about Kirschner, because you get a lot of inherent context. Prompting is prompting, but, the game right now really is all about context.
Awesome. Any other questions? Anybody think of one on the top of it? Yeah, sure, go ahead.
When you're using LLMs or agents to generate like complex code, how do you make sure you keep a good grasp of the fine-grained functioning of the code for when, in the future things eventually break or when you want to modify or add a feature?
That was my plan. That was actually the next question, so that was perfect. The question for anybody that didn't hear it was, especially if you're working with complex code, but realistically, if you've just been working with AI code for long enough, right, especially if the agents are doing most of the coding, which some of the places where you work, this might be the case. If you start thinking months down the line, 6 months down the line, if for some reason the agents are down and you have to actually, God forbid, write some code again, like, how will you even know what's there? So how do you stay on top of the quality? How do you know what it's doing? How do you kind of keep on top of that? So what do you guys think?
Well, I think first of all, there's probably not a one-size-fits-all answer. Depending on the product or the area of the product, it's going to vary how much risk you want to take. And so probably on the mission-critical, business-critical code, this isn't even really a question you're asking. You may be using AI, but there's still a ton of human in the loop going on to where this risk isn't even really present. You should be very familiar with the code still. But in a lot of other areas where you're much more willing to take risk, I think you still lean on like a lot of the guardrails that allow teams to go quickly or allow large teams to work together well, which is a lot of other testing suites and things like that. I think like this question of how much human in the loop is one that I think we're all grappling with. And so I think even in my head, I'm pretty conflicted on it. That's why I come at it the way I started, which is like, what's the level of risk with this piece of code if it does break? Because personally, I want to be taking a lot of risks in areas that you could take risks right now and see how it plays out a little bit. Like, okay, we're still managing our test suites and things like that, and we're still up front with the prompting, but like, I want to find places to try to not do the code review, and I want to see how it goes. But that doesn't work in an area that's mission critical, right? But I want to, if you're ever going to consider it for everything, you've got to find a place to try it. You've got to find a sandbox to work in. You've got to find a place to fail in. And so I don't know that I have a perfectly good answer to that, but I want to be like, I want to find a situation where I can be trying and failing and learning. So I think that's how you're going to get to that answer.
I think to kind of go a different approach with regard to kind of like long running, like just keying in kind of that little bit. There is certainly an aspect where I am trying personally to manage the amount of information I'm providing to the context, or excuse me, to the agents and the harness, as well as certainly just trying to think. Here, give me a moment. I have a way I want to say it.
I think ultimately it's easier to experiment when you have, when you have and continue to make the investment in testing, unit tests, and end-to-end tests. It's just, you have that safeguard there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we'll get to it in a sec. I think what AI has done for a lot of people and a lot of organizations and teams is that it's kind of pushed you up the maturity scale, whether you wanted to or not, right? Like, it's like the teams that had so much automation, such good CI/CD and documentation, things like that, they've adapted so much better, right? And for the ones that were just sort of doing it sort of ad hoc, it's just what was in your senior's head and that kind of stuff, like they're being forced now to catch up. And I think if you think about like the big companies that have thousands and thousands of engineers and millions of lines of code, it's like, how does anybody in that organization know what that system is doing? And the answer generally, right, has got to be architectural documentation and ways that you find a way to kind of document what the system is doing. And so I think that this is a thing that we will probably continue to develop and get better at time, even in smaller organizations that historically haven't had to do it, is just find ways to be generating the kind of documentation that humans can grok and get a lot more knowledge out of what's happening than the lines of code, because we just quite simply won't keep up with the lines of code, right? I think there was one more question down here. I think we got time for one last one, yeah.
Yeah, so my question is related to everything is moving at so much, so fast that what used to be the best 6 months ago is not the best anymore. Nowadays, the AI tools allow you to use several models. For example, Copilot allows you to use GPT or Claude or anything. So from that point of view, you have the freedom to choose the model. But what about the AI tool? How you guys keep track of today your company is using Copilot, for example, with any model, but it's Copilot. You are attached to Copilot. But now Cloud Code is so much better for coding than Copilot itself on the orchestration layer for AI. So how you guys convince and keep track of not being jumping from Copilot to Cloud Code?
You did. Oh, did my thing turn? Oh, I pressed the button, didn't I?
It's on the very top.
Am I back? No? You were back. There you go. Back. There we go. Sorry. You did a really good job of projecting your voice, much better than me turning my mic off. But let me just really quickly say, with AI moving so quickly, right, how do we both A, know what the right tool is to be using at a given point in time? Oh, but the battery's dying. Oh, that's what it is. Okay. How do you know at any point in time what the tool is that you're supposed to be using? And also just, you know, how do you deal with that kind of velocity and things of that nature?
Yeah, so you kind of touched on something that I have very strong opinions about. So I'll share a quick opinion. I do feel like there is a convergence going on with the models. There's certainly a lot of overlapping functionality. It's not quite the layer that I'm looking as much. I think in 6 months we'll be having very different conversations. With regard to the harnesses, I think that's where you're starting to see a lot of different value. When we talk about Claude Code being, I guess, better, quote unquote, you know, I think part of that success can be, you know, attributed to the agent harness itself, the ability and features that it provides, and I think that we will see further growth on that. It's very hard to provide like any sort of specific direction and say like use this, as much as you're going through it, be mindful of how these things work. Many of the coding agents work similarly. Underneath the hood, they're working through, you know, very similar architectures, and understanding that, how that works, I think will benefit you regardless of where the industry goes, what features are adapted to these harnesses, and simply, I think it'll give you an opportunity to continue to adapt regardless of what the market comes out with.
So I think like as users and like consumers of the tools, there's especially consumers of like the marketing of the tools, and it's like a big trap in like constantly thinking that I got to be using the best tool. I think especially in today's reality, like maybe a year ago that was a little different answer, but like today's reality, I think you should just use whatever tool's in front of you, frankly. Whatever tool your company's providing or like your team's using, use that and get good at that tool, because I think you'll be far ahead of the person who's got anxiety about are they using the best tool or advocating for another tool, because they have converged a lot. And I think like how you grab onto something in the storm is like fundamentals, and that's pretty consistent across them right now. And just getting experience with any tool is giving experience with all the tools to some degree. And so like if you're hesitating because like leaning into the tool in front of you because you think it's not the best tool, that's probably holding you back more so than just leaning in on the tool in front of you. And like go look for another tool when you feel like you've hit the walls or the boundaries of the one that's in front of you. But until you've like mastered the agent that you're already comfortable with or that's provided to you, I would stick right there with it. I know that's not really exactly what you're asking potentially, but I just, when we talk to people, we see so many people concerned about, oh, I can't use this at work, or I can't use that at work. And I think just lean into what's in front of you and get really good with it. Like the prompting, a lot of the features are going to overlap. Getting your project agent ready is going to be very consistent across the tools. Like that's not really going to differ that much. And so those things take you like a mile further than like, oh, you know what, I had, Cursor this month or Cloud Code next month or something like that. So much of this comes down to, is your project ready to move as fast as agents like to move and to just integrate with agents well. And that is so much more work than what the other thing is for the most part. Almost every team we interact with.
Yeah, I think ultimately it all comes down to just mastery of your tool, but then, for lack of a better phrase, just keeping your ear to the street. I mean, things are happening so fast. Like I said, a year ago I was anti-Cursor, and now I'm actually, really digging into it. So, I'm finding value, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think you just stick with what you know, right? I think there's a formal answer, which is evals. Like if your team's sophisticated enough and mature enough that you actually have good evals set up, you can try different models and see what works best. But I mean, I'm sure some of you have experiences this. You're on the same team, working in the same code base. One person says like, Codex is the worst thing that ever exists, and Opus is the only thing that works. Another person says, oh, Gemini's everything, right? So how can that be, right? It's like you're all in the same code base. So there's probably a correct answer here, but I think for people that are feeling fatigue, I mean, I remember when it was new frameworks every year. Like, oh, we got to migrate to Ango, now we got to migrate to React, now we got to migrate to this, we got to migrate to that, right? And now people are doing the same thing to themselves with AI tooling. I think, especially if you're feeling overwhelmed by how fast everything's moving, it's to just ignore the stuff that's happening as best you can and focus on the things that your team is using. It's better to be, like they were saying, better to be using what you're using well than it is to constantly be overturning what you're doing, trying to stay with whatever the best is.
Yep.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for the questions, everybody. We'll be here afterwards, so if you had another question that you wanted to ask based on kind of the things that these guys are doing at different companies with this enablement stuff, please feel free to stop by and talk to us. But otherwise, Tracy?
So glad you're coming. But if you guys have any questions after this, we'll do Q&A, and he, again, is just like such a great resource, and tools like VS Code and GitHub Copilot literally change because of conversations, right, and feedback. So give him a big round of applause.
I flew in this morning, went through all the traffic, made it here, finished my slides, just wiped it in time. I work on VS Code, based in the Bay Area, originally from Germany for like 5 years now. Previously Firefox, work on DevTools, that's not now Tracy, different kind of web framework teams and all that. So to the question of like getting your code base AI ready, probably the quickest ways to explain it, this is how we do it on the VS Code repo. If you want to check it out, it's all on GitHub, github.com/Microsoft/VS Code. And we just 2 weeks ago moved from a monthly release cycle, which has been happening since 2015, to a weekly one because of all the velocity that we've been unlocking ourselves, that we've been getting faster feedback cycle. But it's not just development, it's also PMs like me landing code. I'm sorry, but it's this faster learning. Like I did land plan mode right before Universe in November. I landed the Ask Questions tool just a few weeks ago. That doesn't look as crappy as that anymore. Then the team jumped in, this is amazing, we need this, and it got ramped up. But that velocity outside of just the little amount of time you actually spend time writing code is really important. And what allows me to contribute to VS Code is that we have a really strong set of customizations already landed in the code base. And that's what was discussed, like onboarding your code base to agents is that key step, and that translates across every agent harness you might be playing around, which is the current hype that everybody tells you on Twitter to use, and you have FOMO and you want to try them out, but then all these things like in your GitHub folder, We see skills. We really care deeply about accessibility. That's built into the agent harness because we have an accessibility skill that keeps reinforcing it. We can talk about Azure pipelines. We have, up here, we have an agent. We can talk about our telemetry we're collecting. We can actually look at the code, some diagnostics an engineer added around performance or usage. He can just ask, like, how many people hit this problem? Like, what are their machines like? How can I fix it? Is there other actual data with it? So all these things are coming together in the code base to not just code, but also answer questions, work on a pipeline, and everything else. So the question is, like, how do you get more out of AI adoption that's not just solving that 30%? Because 7% of what most developers do is not writing code. And that was like also the trick initially when AI came out, and like, oh, it completes my code, it's amazing, it reads my mind. But it's still just, it's only solved that writing code part and not the triaging, the testing, the planning, the collaboration, prototyping. So to go into that a bit, prototyping is kind of my go-to. And I think if you talk about how to roll out AI to teams at scale, it's oftentimes giving them a safe space to get a hands-on experience with AI. Sometimes that hands-on experience in a large production code base is not where you want to accumulate risk depth because people are playing around with AI, but it's having these side projects. So my go-to side project right now is build briefs where I try to figure out, everybody's excited about Spectrum, not anybody doing Spectrum development. So I'm trying to figure out how to not apply all the mistakes from the past to make it waterfall and make it actually iterative. So, because like, I don't want to write a spec and then hand it off to an engineer and they will implement it. Like, that's not the day we live in. We want to work with an agent, we want to work with an engineer and a designer on the spec and like learn and ship code. And that's what Build Briefs is trying to be. But it's more of a playground for me to figure it out. But in this case, for prototyping, we can now say, for example, in the brief, we need a better navigation to really figure out how to click around in this brief. There's a lot of buttons and slices and assumptions. I think the top bar should be really easy to navigate. So prototyping is all about answering questions quickly. And to make this faster, I'm not going to pick the slowest one with Opus. I'm going to do Haiku to make it more visual as well. So it's important if you use AI in an editor, and that came up before for Cursor, is it has a bunch of more access to what you're actually looking at versus Claude Code in the terminal. Oh, I will run your dev server. You spawn another Claude Code. I will run your dev server too. And so they don't have that context that I already have a build task running and I have a browser open. So it gets a lot more context from what I'm already doing. Is it big enough? Make it bigger. Enhance. Okay, there you go. Yeah, is it enhanced enough? Okay, so too enhanced. Can't see it. There you go. So important here, it does ask me some questions, but now I'm gonna just click through those because it's not supposed to be planning, it's just really vibing. But yeah, we're doing prototyping here. Okay, so prototyping, what just actually shipped and what you find in a few of these coding agents is access to a built-in browser. And that's what you see here. It has the browser open. The agent can actually make changes and verify those using Playwright-like tools or Chrome DevTools protocol to look at like where the buttons are they actually visible? Can I click them? I will click them. Can I do what I expect to do? But you see, all of these have this feedback loop is extremely critical. And it's something we even added to VS Code. We have an agent in VS Code that we included in here. So the demonstrate agent, and there's a skill as well we just last week added, people were really excited. There's somewhere else. But so we have a Playwright inspired skill that can actually start to use VS Code and click around and start taking screenshots, which for the team is really good because they can open a PR and attach a video of like, this is how it looks like. And they don't have to import a video. It's just the agent demonstrating its work by using VS Code and recording it. And if you think about your own apps, what feedback loop you need to be effective, think about how you can provide that same feedback loop, running tests, running CI/CD, actually doing a visual testing, how you can provide that back to the agent. And that's what unlocks this prototyping flow as well. Yeah, while this is running, let me just go back as well. So the key is that you want to think about the axis that I just mentioned. It's not just writing code, it's verifying that it works, it's verifying that the UI works as expected, that everything looks correct, and the agent will actually self-heal through that, use the app. And that's a flow I've been using for the past months now, just even with my favorite prompt is use the app like a critical dog fooder. Like you're that persona and you really want to have a good experience and your feedback is really roasting my app. Because the AI can be usually very nice and it's very agreeable. You want to like tickle it out of that niceness with like critical dog fooding feedback. And if you feed that feedback back into a plan to improving the app and have it test and dog food and test and dog food and fix it, it's a really magical experience of just the app seeing it. You use the app and then like, it's the agent improving itself. So beautiful, especially if the app is another agent, then it's just a constant loop. So then continuous engineering is that what allows me to contribute to projects that are really complex like VS Code because we spent the time and onboarded the agent to the code base. So if we're in a code base and it's not onboarded yet, first thing to do in most of these tools is just hit /init, and that usually bootstraps at least the most important files. I landed this tool as well. If you run this one, you also get some follow-up prompts, like what else you could explore. Maybe you want to add an agent. Maybe you want to create a skill for the tests. So there's a lot more customizations, and we really want to help you to break those down in a moment, and so you don't have to prompt craft them all yourself. Also to keep them updated, which is not a problem. Once you have them, you want to make sure that they have a shelf life. And then this experimentation is critical as well. I think as someone mentioned as well, you do accumulate risk when you do use AI in a code base and you do more prototyping. So how you manage that risk? For us, it's having more draft PRs that we just use to kind of, this is what I think about, and I can give a demo, and then it's still a discussion with the actual code owner to ship it. But we do have a lot of things in place, like having extra prototyping repo where we can try out new things that's not in the main code base. But it's making that, giving people room to try this out, having enough greenfield projects, so not the production environment as well. And lastly, I think I mentioned this, a safe prototyping environment as well, that's not production. Okay, so delegation. Now that we have this local feedback flow, we can actually check in what the agent has been doing. It's been now opening the website, it did changes, it made a mistake, we'll notice the mistake, will fix itself, all the goodness. Okay, while it does that though, I have another thing that I wanted to try out. So I did actually have this app that's now fixing itself, but I wanted to make it actually look nice. Now it's like this Tailwind classic bootstrap design that like every vibe coding app out of the box usually looks like. We had like a moment in time where everything was purple, gradients, before it was Tailwind. I try to go kind of back to Tailwind here. So if you just gonna go back and make a new conversation here, let's allow it, let's allow. So it's now trying to navigate, catch the error. Okay, but as we do this, so now I kicked off this off before, and I archived it, I think. Run the tests. And the idea is, who has been using agents in the cloud or in PRs, delegating, or who has been actually running multiple agents at the same time on a daily basis? Okay, a few people. In our user research, it actually is, we find that it's a difficult concept to wrap your head around. Like it's context switching. So you start doing work, you hand it off to an agent, you want to watch the agent do work, do you go YOLO mode and you accept all permissions? Who's doing YOLO mode, by the way? I don't judge. Okay, so yeah. Yeah, if it's your colleagues, don't look at them right now. Yeah. But, so who's doing YOLO mode in safe, containerized environments? Okay, yes. I'll show them later as well. So the idea is basically in GitHub PRs with GitHub Copilot, you have a perfectly safe environment that the agent can run autonomously for minutes to hours. And to use that, I can just ask you, for example, make a native redesign that makes this app load. Oh, I'm typing. Make a native redesign that makes the app really cool and native and just blend in and be really fun to use. See, I'm a really good product manager. So now we can go in, make a plan, but I can also just actually now put this off automatically to Cloud. And Cloud in this case means it opens a PR, assigns it to Copilot, and I can already have changes locally that I can bring over, or just bring it over like this. So think about, for your own sake, for your own flow, in the evening, once you're done and you plan out your next day's work, can you just delegate some of these tasks already to a PR and check it in the morning? Is that draft like 90% there? Is it just a polish? Is it totally wrong? I need to do everything from scratch. But thinking about the abundance of what you can unlock with agents without that kind of multi-threaded complexity of you context switching and you cannot sleep because still an agent that might be needing your help to get unblocked. But it's a lot easier to just kick it off overnight. So I already did this before as well. So what I did before is I have a prompt, go up here. I had this prompt Cloud Explorer, let me show what it looks like. Here's a prompt. It's basically has two tools, and it could be a skill as well. We have two formats, prompts and skills. So create pull request with Copilot and what to do, look at the plan, identify 3 variations, and send pull requests for each. So I gave the same prompt, do a fresh redesign. Let's say refresh the design language from scratch, moving towards a more app-like style. So I sounded more like a product manager this time. But the idea is, now when I go to my build brief repo, I actually have these, it came up with three revisions last time. So I did one macOS native with ReactATL components. And the cool thing is, they might be in a PR and they might be in a different branch, but you often can already get a first big good pass on them by just looking at the plan that it came up with, falling apart. Sorry. So we got screenshots, and this is good. This is like close to a native app that I would expect, a good, solid, boring app. Definitely macOS-y. It's another one. We have another Tailwind. I'm not sure how Tailwind gets so close to native design. Let's see. Probably still looks like Tailwind. Yes, still looks like Tailwind. And lastly, it went with ChatCN, which is kind of the go-to for vibe coding these days. And it's better. It's still boring. So I would probably need to tickle the eye a bit more on getting creative and applying some more front-end skills, which I do have a skill for, by the way, to have a thing which is an official Claude Code Skills, which does have a line, don't do purple gradients, but also don't make AI slop design. So this one, it does create the PRs in the background, and it can even use the agent then to compare it in the end. So as this is going, so we had 3 of those. Why would I create 3 PRs for the same problem though, right? So who has explored multiple variations for problem or solution with agents so far? If you haven't done it, that's like the prime, like don't just want to solve very well-defined problems with agents. Agents can be amazing thought partners to get around like the white canvas of just like, I don't know what this could look like. So having 3 designs, at least now in opinion that I probably don't want to use Tailwind because it will still look like Tailwind. But I can at least have another conversation I can bring to the next meeting of like, here's 3 ideas, like which one do you like most? Like which one, like why do you like this? So it's really important to use these creative ways for agents as well. So delegation. End of day pattern I mentioned. Before going home, just assign a few issues to GitHub Copilot or your favorite coding agent that works well on PRs. Automatic review, that's I think one of the key ingredients that the VS Code team enabled. Who has automatic reviews on their PRs using agents? Who is struggling with code reviews because of more agentic code generation? Like I say, it's usually a good baseline. Like once you're there, once you get through that 30% and you optimize the heck out of how fast people can write, the VS Code team hit this hard. And we have now enabled code reviews on PR drafts and PRs. And a human will only look at the code reviews once they are resolved. There's a really cool blog post from the GitHub Copilot team that works on code reviews, how the numbers have just skyrocketed and how well it works, how positive feedback is from developers. I do code review locally with my agents, like multi-model, and have like Opus and Gemini argue, and then they come to consensus, and it's beautiful, and then I still get feedback that's valid in the code review once I push it into the PR. So it's really highly recommended also to unblock that velocity, to give a reviewer confidence that it's a high bar that they can allocate it. I mean, if it's a bad review, you can still just at least resolve it, and it might be still an insight locked in there. Another one, issue triage. Who's using agents for triaging issues, for non-coding stuff? A little bit. Highly recommended. Highly recommended. So my problem is that I work at VS Code, which is one of the top most contributed repos on GitHub. So we need agents to triage our issues. We have been doing that for a while. But now, agentic workflows is a GitHub Next project that I didn't have time to show here. But it allows you to run agent in GitHub on a continuous basis, doing things like issue triage, improving documentation just in the background, no human intervention involved. They have some more constraints around input and output and security on top. It's a beautiful system, and that's now actually triaging most of our issues and a whole lot of other stuff. We keep finding more use cases of things that we need to automate. Okay, planning. Who's been using plan mode, plan agent, all these things? Not enough hands, so I need to show this. Okay, we already saw some questions previously. So let's actually do it as a plan mode. So I'm going to switch over to local. I'm still in my previous app. And I'm going to use, there's a bug here, which you see. I think we're adding plan mode right now if you use the CLI. It's bleeding over. I'm going to use GPT 4.5. Anybody? Okay, hands up for favorite model is Opus. Hands up for favorite model is GPT. Hands up if you don't have a favorite model. So I'm right now still torn. 5.4 is amazing. It's so much fun to use. It's faster than Opus. It goes deeper sometimes, I find. It's a lot better at kind of debugging complex things. So we've been enjoying a lot in the team. So, and now switch to plan mode, and that's what I want you to start every deeper conversation in with the agent. If you're not using plan mode, you might be saying I'm using plan mode because I'm prompting it myself to do planning. That's okay, but if you're not using plan mode and telling it to implement a feature, then you're doing AI wrong. So plan mode is what it does. Out of the box, it will go a lot deeper into researching your code base and really understanding what it needs to do up front. And models will do that automatically, usually out of the box. But this kind of 10x's this whole process and really asking it to verify deeply and explain it back to you. And your new job basically as an AI orchestrator is reading a lot more of these documents and building consensus with the agents that it's building the right thing. So this is not running. It's 3 Explore agents. I also wrote this prompt, by the way. This is one of my favorite prompts. And there's a lot of UX I find going into how you structure a plan, which is really interesting. So planning's good. And then from a plan, it's much easier to hand off autonomous work to the agent. You saw me handing 3 very broad topics off to a cloud agent. I wouldn't recommend it. You want to hand things off that you have confidence in that they capture actually what you want. Is it the right outcome? Is it mentioning the right tests that needs to update? So you exactly understand when it comes out that this is what you wanted. So planning before you hand off to the cloud agent is another key ingredient. Even if you use team agents and Cloud Code or any other of these kind of multi-agent systems, you want to start with a good plan, or at least a good spec of what the outcome is you're aiming for. Those specs become also then the source of truth. You now see some apps coming out that are basically just a markdown document in the root, and then anybody, if they want to have a version of Elixir, they can do that, or anything else. But specs become the time to have discussions with the team, the time to the thing that you want to track into an issue, that then really identify like what decisions went into this and everything else. So if I go in here now, once I wrote a plan, I actually get some questions. Is it iOS first? Are you doing macOS first? Is it the whole app? Let's make the whole app. How bold should the new visual language be? That's a good question. It should pop, I think. Fun but professional. Highly polished and restrained. Boring here. Okay, so which is not part of the plan. Agents don't like to ask questions usually. Agents will just assume and run off. And you all saw that with getting bad results. And plan mode will pull these questions out and actually make you choose. Which is great. And these plans become then artifacts. Actually, all the questions I just answered will show up in a decision log in the agent as well. So later you can go back, like, why did I pick a boring design? Like, why didn't I go bold? So, that too. Okay, lastly, fleet and the CLI. Who likes agents in UIs? Like Cursor, like VS Code, like, what else is there? I don't know. There might be others, like Augment, like in an editor with fonts that are not fixed up. Okay, who likes CLIs? Okay, who likes CLIs before they use agents and CLIs? Okay, yeah, same thing. Yeah, so I think that's a cool one. I see a lot of people now struggling with being forced into like, oh, you need to use agents in the CLI because that's where they're native. Like, it doesn't really matter. Like, Cloud Code is not better as an agent because it's a terminal tool. It's a good harness. It's built by the people who optimize the model too. There's a good feedback loop, but the CLI itself is not the magic ingredient. But it allows you to transfer it to run it in more places. But overall, I find the like multi-agent UX of terminals not the most pleasing. But the idea is basically in VS Code. Anybody tried the Copilot CLI since it came out? Cool. Team's awesome. We're working very closely with them. So if you ever want to, I think I'm doing this wrong. It's a shirt. Okay, let's go. Copilot CLI is actually something you can trigger right within VS Code. So if you have a terminal open, let's max this up. Get some really nice multitasking UI as well, and then I can just go in here and open Copilot CLI. CLI just as well has a plan mode. Use plan mode, do anything else. So if I go in here, it's time for the app to grow up. I want to have it a native, feel, towery, and everything else. So Fleet and Autopilot, both systems. Who's been using Ralph loops? I'll explain. So Ralph loops are what somebody mentioned. Like they already start building their own harnesses, like calling CLI tools. A Ralph loop basically kicks Cloud Code or any CLI agent used back into its working loop to really complete a project. If you give it a task, it will keep track of its progress. If it hasn't finished yet, it will get its progress back and has to keep working on it. It burns tokens like no tomorrow, but it's a great way to actually get agents to not just stop and ask questions like, oh, I finished phase 1, should I really continue, or should I start phase 2, or do you want me to do something else? So, and Ralph loops work around it. So in this case, I actually have CLI asking too many questions, but we have Autopilot built now into both the CLI and also the agent in VS Code. And what Autopilot gives you is basically a built-in Ralph loop. The agent has to confirm that the work it was given is done, which is an extra step for it. it usually will only do it when your work is actually done, but it allows you to have the agent work much more consistently and without interruptions. And also in this case, for VS Code, with complete approval process, which works a lot better when you have a plan that it's executing against. So plan mode in CLI is getting there. So it does the same thing. Plan mode will run and explore a sub-agent to get a context, and then moved on to read some more details. Then eventually will spit out a plan. And once that plan is done, I can then do this fleet prompt, or it will prompt me to do it. And that actually runs multiple parallel agents that orchestrate with each other and finish the to-do list. So, and that's the way if you have multiple tasks and can be done in parallel, Fleet will do it for you. So if you want to try CLI tools, Copilot CLI with its built-in multi sub-agents, and we also have sub-agents in VS Code. Just taking too long. I'll go back to the slides. Okay.
I had a question.
Yeah.
With every, a lot of them move to skills, are agents still like, where is it shifting from the agents to skills?
So I worked with Anthropic when they shipped agent skills. We like before, like they usually tell us like 5 days before. I was like, yeah, that's it. We already had a ladder, so we shipped it in at the time off. But so agents as a skills as a format, anybody agent skills, is that clear? Should I brief explainer? So agent skills are just, the essence is markdown files with front matter. They explain when to use them, and that's the only context the agent gets when a skill is like added. And then it understands like, oh, I need this when I work on front-end design, and then it will actually read the rest of the file. And then that folder can have more files like scripts or reference documents that it can also load. So that is a powerful thing, that progressive disclosure. For agents, the custom agents, right? They are more constrained. You can constrain them down to tools and a few other things, skills potentially as well, but overall, short answer is there's a convergence of the skill file format to also allow things like custom agents, which makes it all very fuzzy. And it's not actually in the spec. So, but yeah, I would do both. I have many skills. I sometimes start with skills and then make an agent for it too, because I want to really constrain it. An agent in VS Code, you can actually pick, and I can pick my deep web research agent, and this agent will only search the web. I don't have to tell it, please use the skill, please don't use other tools. It's limited to just a few tools and to just search the web. So that's the power of having these top-level agents as well, which it didn't demo, but you can imagine it. Yeah, did I answer your question?
Yeah, no, it did.
Okay.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So Copilot in VS Code versus Visual Studio. So sometimes I'm working on a C# code and I prefer Visual Studio, not Visual Studio Code. Sometimes
Yes.
I'm in Angular and I prefer Visual Studio Code. But I feel like Copilot is more advanced in VS Code than Visual Studio. Is that?
That's true. We're all friends, but it's not the same team. They are. We do talk, but they're also a much larger work. They also make more money, but there's definitely a gap, and we have been charging ahead. Now actually the CLI team is charging ahead of it, so we're trying to keep up. So we know what it feels like, but I think there's just the scale is harder. But .NET also works pretty well in Visual Studio Code. I can highly recommend it. Like even our .NET aficionados are mostly using VS Code now, which is sad for Visual Studio. But visually they're catching up, and we're talking to them like, here's what we hear. I definitely have lots of customer meetings on Copilots, and then they talk about JetBrains and all these other things that we talk to those teams, but they're all, yeah, the pace is the hardest. Cool, yeah, so pick your favorite. If you want to use CLI, use CLI. If you want to do more visual work, being an editor is great. And delegate more to cloud as well. But overall, yeah, onboard your agent, this context engineering bit is the most critical thing. It's what somebody asked in the beginning, how to get everybody else to use these tools, is invest into context engineering so everybody opening these agents will have a better experience out of the box. And that doesn't just mean initializing instructions, but also means, can the agent run the tests? Does the agent discover your builds? Does your CI/CD system respond fast enough that the agents can actively use it? So building out more repos, something that's more vibe coding friendly, like a prototyping repo, can really help. And then building that habit of delegating when you can, not just using multiple agents at the same time, like I do multiple planning sessions in parallel because that's easy, it's read only, but once you start it in parallel with work trees, there is mental overhead. But that evening delegation is a lot easier. And lastly is seeing what shipped and staying on top of that. We actually use a lot of agents right now to understand code quality at scale, to hold that bar high, to have code review by default enabled, and to learn from each other. Like everybody's trying to add more instructions over time, and yeah, be open to more form factors. Even now in the Copilot team, we now have people using a CLI, people using VS Code, people working more in the cloud. So everybody will find the thing that works best for them, and it can change over time. Cool. Happy to have more questions later. Jeff, coming next.
Thank you so much. That was
I got this
awesome.
one. I think it's working now. Oh. Nope. Just need to change to.
Are you our Vanna White?
Yeah.
There we go. Does Vanna White still like do Jeopardy?
She does like the little number.
Yeah,
Or does
so-
she still do it?
Jeopardy, but I don't think we have the time for, the 20, 100 questions. So we're gonna be a little bit of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire format. The multiple choice.
There you go.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty, so we'll have the questions. If you know the answer, raise your hand.
Whoa.
Oh. Okay, who raised the?
Close your eyes and point at
All right,
someone.
Glyph, you have to help me out. Let's start. I saw over here. Let's go with you. Yeah.
Large language model.
And that's the right answer. So you come out and get a swag. There you go. All right, what she's doing, we get to, so they do get a little harder. All right. When an AI model generates confident but completely made up information, it's called I think I saw it. Let's try over here. There you go, back there. Yeah.
All right, C, hallucination.
C, hallucination. You are correct, sir. Woo! All right, we're only $5,000 questions, so they get harder. There you go. Tie it into our spoken. Oh, there you go. We got first part over here. We get Hub Copilot. There we go. So we were paying attention at the last presentation. Now, this is a little far for the next one. NX is a popular build system known for speeding up development. What is one of its core features?
Let me see.
All right, anybody?
Wrong answers are fine too.
Yeah, wrong answers are fine.
Yeah, Rajesh.
All right, Rajesh.
I think it's A.
Hey, that is correct. Ooh, okay. C. Oh. That's a
Oh no!
That was the answer.
Yeah!
Yeah.
Was it C?
Yeah, it was C.
Okay. Rajesh, come to.
That's right.
Yeah, come on up, Rajesh. Got the. All right. Did not check that use case. So.
They're all different sizes.
Okay. What is temperature in the context of LLMs? Okay, I saw the first. B. That is correct. Woo! Come on out. Alrighty, RAG. Retrieval augmentation improves ML responses by. Oh, there you go. We have one in the back. What is it?
C.
C. That is correct. Retrieving relevant journal documents for better response. Nice. Now we're getting to the $250,000 question. In an NX monorepo, what does the affected command do? B. That is correct. Come on up. Alrighty. GitHub Copilot uses the. Oh, okay. Yes. There you go. I didn't get a chance to read the question. Everybody's paying attention tonight. That is a great one. Which technique involves providing LM with an example input and output pairs in your prompt to guide its behavior? There you go. You got. I know you got the points over here. C. Few shot prompting. That is correct. Come on up and get some swag. And the last question, an NX question. What does NX use to determine which projects in a memory repo are affected by a code change? Yeah. All right, anybody else? If not, there you go.
Project dependency graph.
Project dependency graph. You are correct. You are a millionaire. Alrighty, come up and get some swag. But no, thank you guys. Just a little fun to get us in between from one to the other. I'll get it back to Tracy.
Yes, and
Business.
Go full screen here. All right, thanks Tracy, and thank you everyone else. I know you might be looking at me and saying, this guy has it all together. He has command of the room. We all want to be me.
Yeah.
But I'm actually pretty nervous tonight because my son came here to watch me speak for the first time. So try to make me look good. If I say something that sounds like a joke, then like just laugh at it. No. And maybe you could embellish things like if I say, who here is using NX? Like, wow, that's great. All right, well, I'll get started now. My colleague Alton's going to come up after me, so I'm really just setting him up for the spike of the demo. That's going to be a lot cooler than me talking, but me talking is okay. So let's talk about where AI agents are. They got a lot better in 25. Our agents maybe wasn't even a concept except in Dario Amode's mind back in before 2025. Anthropic CEO. Thanks, Rob. So they got a lot more powerful, and so like look at Copilot a couple years ago. It was line auto completion, and then AI got smart enough to do whole files, and then whole projects and whole repositories. And what we're going to show is that agents get 10x to 100x better because they can work across boundaries. And we're all about monorepos, and the opposite of monorepos is polyrepos. And what we want to acknowledge, which a lot of people are starting to see now, is that there's an invisible ceiling on how much work agents can do. Sorry, my son's videoing me, and it's making me more nervous. I said to take a picture. But it's like what we see, so we're all about monorepos. But yeah, monorepos. And if you're in a monorepo, you've already got a head start. Like AI just works really well because it's got more context by default. If you're in an X monorepo, it understands dependencies, and if you're using our MCP, it is able to get lots more context. But if you don't, if you have many repos representing parts of your system, and these repos are related, which most repos have at least some kind of loose relationship with other repos, then the agent is limited to just what it can see in front of it. And because of this, if you want to make changes that cross the boundaries of repos, you have to coordinate it. A human has to do it. You've got to figure out which repos need to be changed together, like which ones might you be breaking. For large enterprises, there can be quite a few, like especially if you're working on something that's shared massively, like a design system. You've got to line up the PRs in order so they can land in the right order and publish packages in the right order. You've got to watch CI across the repos, and it can take hours or days to land anything that is beyond the boundaries of your own repo. So with an agent, you can quickly get this code written, and that's no longer the bottleneck. The bottleneck now is everything that's between an agent writing the code and landing it. And so getting your CI to move fast is a pretty important part of this. But, and getting it fast in a monorepo is great because of NX Cloud and everything we do with like affected tests that we saw, and caching and task distribution and some other things we're not going to talk about right now. But if you're in a large team, like a team if you've got more than 10 repos, I think that's probably the point where it's like, okay, I don't want to move into a monorepo. There's no way I can consolidate these, even if you see that you get some things for free by being in a monorepo. If you can migrate to a monorepo, just do that. But if you can't, that's what we want to help with. And so I want to introduce this idea called synthetic monorepos, where you can get like 90% of the experience of working in a monorepo, like your ability to see everything and to affect everything, but without the need to migrate. So Alton will show this in a minute, but all you do is connect your repositories to NX, and they don't need to be NX repositories, but we use all of NX's magic, all of NX's plugins, and its way of inferring how graphs are constructed, like how dependencies are relating to each other, and lets us do some pretty interesting things. Now, you might be thinking of some use cases that are obvious of like, oh yeah, if it was easier to work across repos, or if they were in a monorepo, this kind of thing would be easier. Like maybe I touch a design system component and the libraries that depend on it at the same time. But we've kind of built a tolerance for this pain, and have just accepted some pain that it's good to now question, like, do we still need to operate this way in this new world of AI and velocity, and if we could easily work across repo boundaries, like redoing work in every boundary, or in every repository. If you have to create a shared repository or publish a shared package, anytime you want to share something with another team, you're just not going to do it because you've got other things to do. And so you're going to re-implement a service, re-implement a library, and large companies end up with thousands of implementations of the same thing. Or you may publish and pray, where you just publish a version of something and hope for the best whenever the people who depend on that upgrade. And maybe it breaks them, maybe it doesn't, but it won't be your problem whenever that happens. And these are things that in a monorepo are difficult to do, because you have to change people who are depending on you at the same time, or else you'll break CI. But we get around that with versioning, and that's not necessarily a good thing. So synthetic monorepos unlock these things: org-wide changes, knowledge, context, and we're not just like dumping code into like all the code from all your repositories into one session, which would not work. We're actually compressing different layers of understanding of your code, and using NX's metadata that we already store about projects and workspaces to know which repos could be affected by changes and which repos need to be worked in, and we handle that for you. And so what's more interesting, and the things that really require a lot of human intervention, are the automated PR coordination and cross-repo CI. Getting these PRs submitted in the right order, getting them green, and then making sure that you're not merging one without the others being green, so that you actually are having something that kind of looks like atomic commits is pretty difficult, but we make that easier for you. And it's important to have fast CI. I'm not going to focus on this so we can give time to Alton. Got this new way. The platform is amazing. If you don't use NX already, this is what you get, and you should use NX. And it's not just monorepos, like a massive monorepo for your whole company. It's like, really, we talk about monorepos as any kind of repo that has multiple distinct things in it, or multiple related or distinct projects with well-defined boundaries. And we've been building this for 9 years now, and so it does a lot. So this is something that inevitably you're going to get to this point where the boundaries between repos are going to get in the way, are going to slow you down. and you might as well solve it now. About us, we're monorepo nerds. We've been doing this for a long time. And now I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Alton, to blow us away. Did I do a good job?
Yeah.
Sir, may I have the lapel mic?
Oh, yes. Thank you for calling me sir. That's a rule at NX. You have to call me sir and Victor mom.
It's the rule.
All right. We're going all chords up front. And I'm going to leak my Slack to all of you. All right, sick. Cool. So,
You're back.
Back.
sick. All right, cool. So Jeff just mentioned we have polygraph and synthetic monorepos. So we're going to walk through a quick demo of that. My name is Alton. I'm much like Jeff in that I work for NX, and this is also my first time presenting for his son. We very much glossed over it, so I'm going to give you a 30-second intro to NX. So NX is a build system that you can use for all sorts of languages, and the gist of it is we create a directed acyclical graph of all of your projects and their dependencies, and you can use that to run your workloads very efficiently. We also support content-based hashing for all of your tasks, so you don't need to replay work. It's very similar to other tools you may have heard of, like Bazel or Turbo, or some of these other ones that you see out on the market. We do more. So I am in NX Cloud right now. This is our kind of like SaaS platform. And what I want to show you first is a workspace graph. This is our internal project. And what you can see here is we have all of these different folders. And it may be a little hard to see, so we'll boost it up and we'll refresh so everything loads and is in a good viewport. Amazing. So we have all of these different workspaces here. And these are all separate NX workspaces, so discrete Git repositories like Jeff was talking about. And what you can see here is that we actually already understand the relationship between these different projects, right? And so you have the ability to kind of declare these things automatically for yourself, or we can infer them based off of heuristics like your package names and which things are exported and how they're consumed and things like that. So we have this graph, and what we're going to be focusing on for the sake of this demo is kind of this train here. So polygraph backend into BFF into polygraph frontend, right? So remember this. I'm going to show you all of these different repos. So we have these different repos. They're very standard. The only thing that you need to remember from these three repos is we're working on credit cards. Doesn't really matter anything else. So we've got some credit card APIs here where we can go off and get all of our credit or all of our cards, and we can get a specific card. And then we have a BFF that maps all of this data into a way that we want to consume through our front end. And then we have an actual front end project. And this does some things, it displays all the cards, whatever. What we want to be able to do is when we're working in our favorite agent of choice, we know that it is taxing and it's tedious, and sometimes it's even difficult to arrange all of the changes across these different repos. And so that is why we're demoing this today. And we're going to start with dangerously skipping permissions. So I'm going to launch Claude, and we can see through my, it's kind of small, but I'm gonna talk over it. So you can see I'm in the backend repo right now, right? And so when we want to start making changes to our multiple repos, what we call this is a polygraph session, right? And so a session is going to contain multiple sub-agents that are each responsible for delegating their work out to their respective repos and then handling those changes and matching them all together. And the way that this is implemented is actually totally agent agnostic. So we're using skills, we're using MCP here to talk to our service as kind of an orchestration layer for all of these changes. And so what we can do is we can start by using the polygraph skill. And then I can just prompt like I normally would, right? So remember, we're working with credit cards here. What is a fun feature for credit cards? Amazing, loyalty points. We all love our loyalty points. All right, so we want to add loyalty points to each credit card. This should be an optional number field and should propagate all the way to the front end. Remember, we have this step in the middle for the BFF. We're not going to tell our prompt about this, okay? We're just going to say, make it appear in the front end, right? And we know there's an extra step there, but can the agent figure it out? And so we can say this should be an optional number field and should propagate all the way to the front end, and we're gonna add the classic, no mistakes, because we're live. So what this is going to go off and do, and we'll see it kind of roll in through the tab here. It's gonna start, it's gonna explore our repo a little bit, and then hopefully we will see it go off and make another couple calls for us. So now we're actually going off and we're initializing our polygraph session as a sub-agent here. And what this is going to go off and do is talk to NX Cloud, or the orchestration service here. That's going to say, I'm preparing this session for you. These are the different repos I need to actually modify here. And what it's going to do is transparently to us, actually go and take the repos and grab credentials for them transparently to you. You have access to them because you're in this NX Cloud workspace. And it's going to make local copies of them for you so that we can perform all of those different changes and not mess up any work that you might have in progress, right? We're not going to mess up your branches and things like that. So we can see the polygraph initialization are not available in this environment. Oh, we love the live demo. All right, we're gonna copy this and we're gonna emphasize no mistakes after restarting Claude. And so let's just make sure we can see MCP is not showing up. I love Claude. We'll give it a couple seconds. MCP. Aha, the MCP has arrived. All right, so now we're gonna hit polygraph again, and we're gonna hit the prompt again, and no mistakes for real. And we're gonna hope that this works. But otherwise, I'll just talk over it, and you can trust me. Okay, so we're gonna start by doing the same thing. It's going to go explore our repo and figure out the model. We're going to try and initialize our sub-agent to create our session again. Let's give this a good 10 seconds, and otherwise I will just talk over it. All right, I'm seeing tokens go up and no errors, and
You forgot dangerously no permissions.
all right, we're just gonna accept all edits, and we're gonna really hope. We're gonna hope very hard. Okay, but since things seem to be working, let's go back to our agent sessions, and really quickly we will refresh. Cool, so we can see now I have an agent session that's arrived here, and this is actually already cluing us in on what the agent has determined is the best path to make our change, right? So we want to add something to our back end, and we want to make sure that it gets to the front end. And what you can see here is we have our initiator project here with the back end. And the agent was actually able to go and using the graph relationships that we had that I showed you originally, we figured out that we need to go through the BFF repo to make our data accessible to the front end, right? So this has just happened for us for free. This wasn't something that we needed to go off and manage anything extra. We just prompted like normal, and the changes are there for us. Let's take a look and see if our agent is actually doing anything. Cool. Oh, we came back at a good time. So we made some changes, it wrote some tests for us. And now, because we've completed the tasks in our initiating repo, we're actually going to delegate off to the BFF repo and the front end repo. And we can see how these are going. What we should see is now we have our child agents here. So if you're working in something like this, especially if you have multiple discrete repos that you need to make these changes across, right? Maybe you're working in a pairing situation, maybe you've got people who need to review your code. what can be really useful is actually to show the reasoning of the agent so you can kind of understand how we got to a certain point, right? So not just your base prompt, but we want to see what the agent was seeing as we go all the way through. And so what you can actually do here, and this is a shareable link to other people that are within your NX Cloud organization, is that we can actually go through here and you can see all of the different things that your sub-agents were doing as well as their status. And so you get all of the same experience as if you were the one who had actually run the agent session, but it's something that you can go share with your coworkers. So I think this is actually kind of an underrated thing that we haven't seen a lot yet, which is making your agent code more reviewable by showing the steps that the agent actually took to get there. And I have a confession to make. Jeff actually gave me permission to spend $1 gajillion and use Claude fast mode, but I forgot to use it. So we're getting standard inference speeds for all of you guys, which is a little unfortunate. I'm going to keep hitting enter as we follow through these things. Both background agents have completed. So we're going off and we're going to get the results, which ended up being nothing. And now we should see that we're going to start opening some PRs to all of these repos, and then I will walk you through what we actually get in those PRs, and I will be out of here. Since I'm sure everyone is already looking at this view during the day, I don't want to make you look at it even more. So we can see that our child agent's finished here, and I don't think that the PRs have been created yet, but we'll refresh just to see. Yep, we have no PRs. And we can go back here, and we will keep waiting for Claude. But yeah, yes?
So question, are those child agent, the tokens, were those running from your subscription session or are those NX tokens?
Yes, all of this is running locally on your machine. Right, so this is not running in cloud machines for us. You could just take this and run everything locally. Yes?
The same thing that you're showing cloud code with NX, can you do Copilot with NX?
Mm-hmm. Anything that supports skills and MCP, you can use this. So I actually use OpenCode most of the time, but we're demoing for Cloud Code. Yeah, any tool that's got support for those things will support this. Yeah?
What does this look like for a manual session? Like if you were doing the equivalent of making the changes in the backend repository manually, getting those to the BFF and the front end repositories without an agent, how can this help with that?
Yeah, so I think what this is helping with is understanding the relationship between the repos for you. So it's not so much that you couldn't do this, right? It's just that this is kind of a time saver. So we can identify that this is more of a atomic piece of work that needs to happen. And so rather than you go off and you need context switch between all of these repos or context switch between 3 different Claude sessions, thank you. You can just hand it off to the agent as one thing and it kind of handles it for you.
If I've already made the changes to the backend repository, can it handle doing the changes to the BFF and the front end repository?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So you do the same thing. You just say, I've already made these changes. We need to go apply them to X and Y, and it'll handle that for you. All right, well, I'm going to blame Claude here, as the agents are not behaving with me and they're not behaving or committing their changes, but we have a contingency plan. And that is that I can show you a different example that we were running. So when you've actually got these and the LLM cooperates, what you end up with is you can see all of the same things here. You can see their agent session status, and we can go and automatically link into these PRs for you. And what you get is what we think is a pretty nice experience. So you get kind of a standard Claude PR summary, which this can be hit or miss. But the important thing is that you actually get to see your session information right here, so that'll link you right in, and you get your related PRs. And GitHub does this really nice thing where it will actually detect that you're sending a PR, and it will update this icon for you, right? And so when you're reviewing this, if you had a coworker that's doing it, or if you yourself are doing it, and you impact maybe 5 or 6 repos and not just 2, you can tell at a glance all of the different things that still need to be merged or waiting approvals or things like that, and you just get to it really easily. So that about sums up Polygraph. I'm happy to answer any questions about it or NX. And yeah, thank you for sitting through some inference. Awesome. You have something?
How do you identify the relationship between the repositories? Is it because of we are using any dependencies?
Yeah, so there's a couple ways you can get around. Oh yeah, so he asked how we're detecting the dependencies between all of these different repositories. So there's layers to it. The first is that you can just define explicit dependencies yourself, and then we have a bunch of heuristics that we can use based off of your package names, kind of like exported member names and things like that we can use to link those projects together.
Also, can you show the graph view and show that you can actually drill into the different?
Oh yeah, this is another neat thing that we can touch on really quick. So when we're looking at this, we're actually not just looking at kind of the top level view of all of your projects. You can actually go and we can expand all of these, and you can kind of step into them and we can see all of the different apps that occur in them. So if I open a larger project like our internal tool, what we can see is, we have, give me all of my, sorry. Well, I thought so. Maybe we have some depth thing on here. But anyways, you can actually go and you can see all of the different apps that we have in here, and so you can not just form a relationship between repo to repo. You can actually say this specific project in my repo depends on some of either one or a subset of projects for an entirely different repo, and so this gives you kind of like higher resolution kind of relationships in between all of your different projects. Yes.
What are those, for example, files that don't have the edges? How did they view that they don't have any?
Oh, so these are they just. Oh, sorry. We'll repeat again. He was asking, what are these floating folders? And so these are just, they exist within the concept of our organization. So imagine like your GitHub org, where you might have a bunch of different repositories, but it's a fully independent project, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Yes.
So some verification that the agent can do in the end, that the end-to-end actually works, because now it's 3 PRs across different repos, and somebody has to verify it.
Yeah. So this is something that we're working on right now, is getting the kind of like integration between these steps closer together. So if you were to do something like you have a PR that requires a package publish or something, right? That's something that we can't test E to E at this time, but it's in the works. So that will be something that's coming soon. And then otherwise, we're just trusting that the changes are independently verifiable from one another. So I'm going to make something like this, which is more kind of like an assumption of a data model and a data shape. And that's something that I can test independently without actually having to consume like a published artifact. Yes?
Does have a default of how it's calling the different repositories? So is it using versioning? Is it using hashes? I'm very excited about this because I have examples where I have like a CDK's library, and then I have CDK's for my own app. And when I make changes in both of them, in the app, it tells me the problems in the library. In the library, it tells me the problems in the app. And I've got them in 2 different windows with 2 different agents, and they're arguing with each other, and I'm copying and pasting, and they can't agree, and I just have to look at it and figure it out. So I'm guessing that that's an advantage of this, is it knows both pieces, and it's not going to point to the other guy.
Yeah, so the way that all of these are versioned right now is we kind of assume that you're running in more of like a trunk style development, and so we would assume that when we're making changes, we're kind of going to go from latest to latest on a specific repository version, which I think I'm answering your question. Let me restate it.
Yeah.
He asked, how do we make sure that we are consuming the proper versions given that I've made some changes? So like I said, we assume that you're working with more of a trunk style development. It's a good call out. I think it is something that's worth us looking into if you've got.
Right now, on latest, you might, someone else might be working in the common repository, and your latest gets all messed up.
Right.
I think it is configurable, or will be, where you can
can override the default.
Yeah, point to a target branch. Yeah, exactly. So you could even do something where, like this is obviously not committing directly into main or something, so you've got your PR out there. If you get to a point where now you have conflicts or whatever, you'd ask the agent to fix everything up, or we can target a different branch or something like that. Cool. Anyone else? Sure.
In the demo, you showed a back end change that is reflected on the front end, and I was thinking if you were to do the same thing in the like the other way around, is there a way to customize the changes that are made so that when you're touching the back end, you don't like mess up the relational database on the back end, for example?
Yeah, so I think there is nothing specific that we provide that would help you do that, but I think that there are lots of things available to the common agent harnesses that would allow you to make sure that something like that is less likely, right? So when we're invoking a child session, even if you started from the front end and you said, we have this new model change, I have my loyalty points, I want to display it, also make sure I can persist it, right? So kind of flipping our whole thing on its head. As long as you had something specified in like your agents MD or your Claude MD and you've got your rules set up, we're just consuming the same rules that you already had available. So other than making it easy for the agent to understand where the changes need to be made and the context for the changes, it's more or less a standard agent that we're kind of like wiring up for you. Cool. Anyone else?
Well, we're gonna leave it here because we're running a little bit late. So thank you, round of applause. We wanted to make an announcement about a conference. So excited about that. There's also a cloud and AI conference coming up soon too. Is that
A cloud conference is 2 conferences in a year. So this year is we just had the developer conference in October last year, and now the cloud conference is gonna be in May 30. That hasn't been announced publicly yet. It's gonna be announced next week. But this year is a different topic. We have rebranded the Atlanta Cloud Conference as Atlanta Cloud Plus AI. So it's gonna be heavily focused on AI. It's a full Saturday free. You guys can register for free, or if you want lunch, it's $10, pizza lunch. But it's from 8 in the morning to 5 p.m. with a bunch of cool sessions, AI focused. So please look for the announcement that it's gonna be next week. But at least you know that it's gonna be May 30 in Innovation Academy, which is in Marietta.
Thank you. Is it happening in Alpharetta?
Yeah, Alpharetta, sorry, Alpharetta.